Good evening. My name is Thurman Greco, and the name of this program is Let's Live with Thurman Greco, and it's coming to you from scenic downtown Woodstock, New York, in our educational television, Channel 23, and also from YouTube on the channel Let's Live with Thurman Greco. And we have got such a wonderful program from you this evening. We've been getting ready for this program, and it's just so excited. We've all been having such a good time. And I want to we're going to start off by asking you to tell everybody just a little bit about your name and why you're here.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I'm quite honored to be here at the Woodstock studio, and I'm Pamela Timmons. I am a member of the Art Society of Kingston, and I've been asked to promote the NISCA grant recipients. And Linda Diamond and Company have received the NISCA grant for a performance that's coming up December 17th. It's a matinee from 2 to 4 o'clock, and that's at the Art Society of Kingston, 97 Broadway in Kingston, New York. I hope that the public will come. It's suggested donation, and all are welcome.
That was really good. You got in all the details and everything, and we also included Linda Diamond. Yeah. Linda Diamond has been a guest on this show several times, and I'm always excited about Linda Diamond. Linda is a guest that I have told her that anytime you want to come on, you are invited. There's just, every time Linda comes, there's a wonderful surprise. There's a wonderful event getting ready to happen that we're all getting ready for. So it's a very exciting thing. And just as an aside, this isn't one of the reasons that she has a standing invitation, but when Linda comes, Linda brings her own background, which means that there's a lot of color that's not normally here. Mm. And my daughter, my oldest daughter, who is an artist, always says, who's coming? Well, Linda Diamond's coming. Listen, Mother, you need to pay attention to what Linda Diamond does when she comes, because you need to use some of her expertise. So you are here, and the two of you are here because you have a program in which you're going to have dancers,
right?
And it's going to be in Kingston, mm-hmm. and it's a program that's going to have a lot of different kinds of music.
Yes, well, recorded music, taped, and video as well as live dance. I was just explaining a little about that. The program, which is by our group called Linda Diamond and Company, we're a not-for-profit, and we're very honored to be invited under the NISCA grant that was given to the ASK Gallery, because they're a wonderful organization that want to really encompass all different aspects of the arts. And I'm a firm believer in that, because I love visual arts, and it has often influenced me in my own work, and it helps the public get a better understanding of how all of these different art forms can meld together. So that's what a lot of these choreography pieces are about, even though each one has a different theme. And we have Duet Andino, which is based on the Inca people and their ancient culture, but done in a modern way. So we'll probably have some projections during the duet of the Inca sun, that we dug up some original graphics of what they found, when they dug up the archaeological finds. And then we also have a piece called Una Semana, which is by Ana Sokolo, and she was a famous pioneer who lived to be 90. And was also originally in the first Martha Graham Dance Company way back. So that piece is based on Sephardic music and very simple dance, but it has a lot of underpinnings in the sense that it has to do with people who have been dispersed. And the idea of that diaspora, which happens even today, is something that I think people can relate to regardless of their background. And the idea that their culture and music has been passed on for many generations. just like the spirituals in our country that were handed down from generation to generation. So I'm very interested in ancient cultures and how it relates to our present time. Then we also have a piece called Precipice, which will have projections of outer space planets and stars, and of course it's very timely because of all the new explorations into what is how did the Earth get formed, how did all these things, these great questions about the universe seem to be very universal at all times, even many thousands of years ago. So it's a modern piece with music by someone named Christopher Theophanidis. He's a professor at Yale, but he's also an award-winning composer who travels all over the world. And actually, I became introduced to his music on a Sunday morning at 7:30 when the radio only worked if it was on the floor in the corner of a doorway. It sounds like typically, Woodstock, a transmission. And I said, who is this piece by? So anyway, that was fun. That's how I discovered it. And of course, I have to mention Tom DeSisto, a wonderful Woodstock composer who actually did quite a lot of work in New York years back. He has been a great collaborator for many, many years with us, and he just loves working with us. And it's quite an honor for me because he has archives of all my music. So I didn't ask him to do that, but he keeps the music on file. And he said, well, what year was that? Oh, yeah, I probably have that. So he puts it into the state-of-the-art, performance quality. So some of his work will be seen in video. And one of them is called Nocturnality with visuals that were done by Marty Korn and from Woodstock Dreams. And then we have other pieces called Music of the Spheres, which is also, when I originally created that, which was a few years ago, I remembered reading something about how the scientists were trying to figure out how did the sound of the baby universe, of course they didn't have tape recorders then, but they were trying to speculate on that. So I found it fascinating, and within that abstract piece of a duet, it's on film right now, there's also moments where suddenly it looked like Adam and Eve. And I didn't intentionally do that, but the imagery, because it's kind of like the Jungian idea of the collective unconscious, that we somehow have heroes and heroines from past that are within our thinking, especially when you do something creatively with art or music. It comes out without you even realizing, and then suddenly say, wait a minute, that looks like Adam and Eve, but I didn't intend it. So there are interesting things that happen. The other thing about choreography is that, when mistakes happen, sometimes it's very interesting because we had a rehearsal last week, several actually, and one of the dancers named Ellie, she did a movement that was from later, and I said, wait a minute, do that again. And so it really worked well because it broke the symmetrical thing that was happening. And I like that when you can sort of like break up something so that it's not always expectable. And I'm sure that happens in visual arts too, or even, with Haydn's Surprise Symphony, I think it is, where we learned it in college, they said they didn't want the audience to fall asleep, so in the middle there's something like boom, and everybody wakes up. So I love those unexpected bursts of, visuals or music and whatever, because that's what brings the audience in. And the other aspect that I tell my dancers is I say we are communicating with the audience, even if it's abstract, and it starts right down the rehearsal, even if they hadn't learned that dance before, so that it's a performing art, basically. And that's what my wonderful teachers that I had that were Martha Graham's partners and all that, they always said, this is a performing art. And if you were sitting on the floor doing an exercise or something, they said, no, you have to keep holding it until we tell you it's ready to stop. And that helps you as a performer in case they don't turn the lights out when they're supposed to. So all of this training and work that goes on behind the scenes with dancers really relates to the reason why we're here. And I always say to them, why do you think we're here? We're here to communicate and bring something to the audience. It's not just that we're in a box. Everybody has a different premise, but I'm a firm believer in that. So that's just a little bit of what's going on.
Well, there's an awful lot, and now you're doing the performing arts. Part of that.
I'm just scheduling performing arts.
Right.
Yeah.
So we have this coming on in December, Now, is this a grant that's going to go for a year? How long is this grant going to go?
No, the grant is 2023. So Linda Diamond and Company is the last performance.
You're the grand finale.
Yeah, you're the grand finale. Yeah.
Oh, thank
We
you.
started out earlier this year with choreography on the edge, and these are young dancers that have their choreography. It's like a showcase. And then again, that happened in July, so we thought that this would be a great way of bringing
Oh, I think
full
that's wonderful.
completion to.
Now, do people
dance
buy
and
tickets to
concert.
this performance?
Yes, I think
Yeah.
there will be.
Yeah, they can reserve, if they go to the Art Society's website, ask for arts, they can reserve. It's a suggested donation, since it is a NISCA grant, but the Art Society, is looking for end-of-the-year donations, so
And
this
they're
is a good
tax
time.
deductible, aren't they?
Yeah,
Maybe
end
the
of the
people
year
should know that.
donations are definitely tax deductible. And, that will bring us with a budget for 2024 so we can continue having programs for the community at large as well as our members.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
And so, is this is going to be a matinee?
Yes, 2:00 on Sunday, December 17th.
That's right there at Christmas time. So this is going to
It
be.
is, yeah.
And I was so excited when you were talking because you started talking about pre-Columbian, and then you went to out into the universe, and then we seemed to go right up into the next. It seemed like it just covered from the beginning of time into the future.
Mm-hmm.
That's an interesting observation. Yeah. You're
You
right.
just and you combine fresh live dancing with videos.
Yes.
And was this something that took a lot of training for you to do, or was this something that just sort of came up within you?
Well, the decision to do that was to be able to have the dancers make a quick change and keep the audience engaged, and also so that the technicians can look at their notes, to tell you the truth. But I mean, it's also as far as what we present to the audience. I think that the changes of venue, or the changes of medium, so to speak, are also interesting, especially in this era where people are so used to a lot of different input. But that's not the reason I'm doing it. I'm doing it to also show certain parts where we have a male dancer because he wasn't able to be here. So we have some duets with the male dancer who's away right now, and then other people, because the dancers are always freelancing, just like in any other performing art, especially music. Of course, sometimes they have to bring in somebody at the last minute because someone has a gig somewhere else and that type of thing. But it is a company. I mean, I've been doing this, as you know, for a while. So I like what you observed about I think that the arts actually do encompass a whole embodiment of our evolution, whether we realize it or not. So even though someone they may be doing a specific thing, but they're bringing to it, a visual artist is bringing all kinds of knowledge and research and study that the subconscious takes over. That's what I love, is the fact that when we do something that's in a nonverbal field, which mine is, and of course music and visual arts, there's something that takes over. And you don't pre-plan it. I mean, at least I don't. You might have a theme about a dance that you want to create, but you let the child within take over and just spontaneously take little curves and not worry about anybody censoring you. It's not like when you go to a class where they say you can't do this with your foot, you have to do that. So I love that part. It's a different use of the brain when you're going to create. And so because you're letting your subconscious take over, it's a lot of fun because you don't know what the result is. You don't pre-plan certain things, and yet it evolves and something grows out of it. It's kind of like an unborn child. You don't know what's going to be the result. But then suddenly you say, oh, they have one blue eye and one brown eye. Something like that.
Well, something that has really stuck with me about this whole thing is that you are coming from a place and you have you have the performing arts and all of the variety, and then you have the galleries. And then here we have Linda Diamond, whose dancers come from all over, whose music comes from all over, and the subject goes from eons and eons, and it all ends up on a stage. And we have a world situation that is so chaotic. And I really feel like that there is, you talk about the brain, I really feel like that there is this plan. I don't know whether anybody planned it, but when you were talking, I really got the feeling that this is to offer some peace.
Yes.
Does that seem crazy?
No, absolutely. Healing through the arts is a well-known opportunity. I mean, we hear about it many times, during other difficult times. But I firmly believe in it regardless, but definitely during a time like this in the whole world, it's just a time to really somehow bring light, in spite of all the suffering that we know goes on. We cannot ignore that. And I think as artists too, even if we want to say, well, I want to try to just keep myself calm, but we are influenced by what's happening around us. But for me, I want to bring something that's uplifting to the audience. I've always believed in that. I feel that, when the audience comes in, they should be able to be lifted up and forget about what's happening in their own lives or whatever for some brief moment, and have a sense of tranquility and uplift and peace for that, even if it's that short time. And years ago, when we worked with hospital audiences, we went to a special place where everybody had terminal cancer. And this one man, told me specifically how for some short moments that his mind was off of everything, and he was just so, elated. And I had to go into the dressing room and cry because I was so moved. I'll always remember that because, that was a moment where we had really reached someone and helped him for that time frame that the show was being shown. And the fact that he expressed that was just very moving to me, and I still, remember it because of how it felt, And so we like to do that type of work, I don't, some people are doing things that are more violent and reflecting the world and all that, but I try to do the reverse. I mean, my works are more, geared towards another realm, shall we say, without giving it a word or a name.
Right. And it really came home to me that what you were doing, even though I didn't know whether you had planned it that way or it just...
It comes out, yeah.
It just came about.
Well, it's kind of like, I guess, if someone writes a memoir or whatever, and you suddenly realize that there's a certain pattern, but you didn't plan it. You just were wandering around here and wandering around there. But then when you have to relate it or put it somehow in writing, you start to see some kind of a design, but there was a design that, you weren't aware of. So I think it's the same thing with creating an art. We don't always pre-plan it, because it's the spontaneity that brings the freshness to whether it's music or visual art or dance. It's that freshness where you don't worry about, and like I think I've told you before about with costuming, sometimes since I can't really even see the needle, I haven't been able to see a needle in years, but so they told me, my dancers. But I enjoy taking, like as I told you, we take a skirt and then we put another thing on top, and then I take a piece of scarf and I wrap them around. And then, but the dancers are used to me, so they're non-judgmental. But they're, when I've had new people, sometimes I say, what's going on? And then they start moving, and it's so beautiful because there might be a red skirt under a black skirt, but when they start moving, you see all the colors, and it's as if someone designed it that way. But I like ready-mades where I can pile different things on, as you noticed. So I have fun with that too, because I think you have to have somewhat of a visual eye, because choreography is about movement in space, and you're creating almost like an architect, except that the architecture disappears later. we can't really hang it up on a wall unless you have a video photograph. But
And
that,
could you speak
that-
about how you've been influenced by Calder
Oh yeah.
and Picasso?
Oh yeah, So we have a
Thomas.
piece called Picassiette, which will be shown on video because one of the people isn't there. That one has painted guitars by a Woodstock artist named Sabra Siegel. The two guitars were actually broken and they were lying around. I don't know how they happened to be there in my theater, so I gave them to her. And she knew that she couldn't imitate exactly Picasso's work, but she had that concept of the cubism. So the idea of breaking up the symmetrical aspect of the guitar, and then it was his inroads into cubism, but he also did study and own African art. I have a piece called Afro-Cubism, which is based on that, and I called it Afro-Cubism. But that was, sometimes they had movements, where they have one hand over the eye to replicate some of the distortions and changes, that he has in his art, which is not simplified at all by my talking about it. So that influenced me, and then there was also, the Calder piece. I found out many years later, my mother told me that, and I didn't know it at the time, after I created that work, she said that she used to have these like circus figures, because I have a circus character section, but we're only doing one live dance section of the four sections. And she said she had the Calder circus characters around my crib. Well, I didn't remember that, but I found out later after I did the work. So the work is called A Dancer's View of Calder's Universe. And it was originally, it received an award from the Fine Arts Council of Florida, and we went on a train, the other dancer and I, we wore leg warmers to keep warm because they had air conditioning on in January. And then we had 2 full days in WPBT's public television station, which was unheard of now, because they don't have the luxury of that. So it was done for television. It was also performed at Lincoln Center and different places, and it sort of stood the test of time, I think, because there's something universal about his work and very whimsical. And the part that I love was when I was interviewed. I don't speak Portuguese, but they told me go to Voice of America because you're going to go to Brazil, and I was going to perform there. So the lady said, "Oh, good, you speak Spanish? Then I'll speak to you in Portuguese." I said, "Oh, I don't know this language," but it kind of sounded a little bit like I could understand. But one of the things that she said, which I remember very well, is that I sensed, because Voice of America is kind of like they like to promote American whatever culture, but you don't hear it in this country. So I said, Calder was considered French by the French. Of course, he was an American, so they considered American, but he considered himself without a passport. So I said, artists are all without a passport because they have a universal communication and language, and that's what brings people together, which is, what the U.S. government used to send dance companies abroad for many months, I heard, and not now as much. And the idea was to communicate through the field of dance and music and reach out to people. And there are many exchanges, too, where they like to bring in, Japanese dancers from Japan to study with American dancers. And I love that international aspect because I've had some of my companies sometimes until they had to be sent out of the country, because of their visa. But I had a wonderful time because each one brought something of their culture without realizing it, even though they were all doing the same dances that I gave them. But because of their background, they enrich the field, they enrich the whole work. So I love that international multicultural aspect. And it's the same thing with American jazz, because many of the well-known jazz people like Herbie Mann and others, they went to other countries and they studied the culture and the music, and then they incorporated it into what we call American jazz. But it's not uniquely born here, yet modern dance is a uniquely American art. It started here and now has been presented in many other countries that sort of jumped on the bandwagon, so to speak, although in France, when I lived there, they weren't that familiar with it, but now everybody's doing modern, and they think they just invented it. But it's wonderful to see how certain art fields start to spread, even though they might have been a little too esoteric for these other people. And then when they do, it brings people together. It makes it more universal when it crosses over different borders. So I enjoy that aspect also, being able to incorporate different cultural, elements into the dances. And there's, I'm not doing it this time, but I have some pieces based on my own background in Panama and, the childhood memories of music and culture that, somehow get in there. But there's one piece I have called Affinities, and I didn't know the title, and I didn't plan the title until halfway towards the end of the dance. It was an abstract piece, and the music is from Cirque du Soleil, and at the end, people are sort of wandering around, they're trying to look for someone, and then when they do, they have like a magnetic pull. So then I realized that's what the title will be, Affinities, which has to do, to me anyway, with where you have an affinity. You don't know why, but that person became your friend because there was a magnetic pull of some kind. So that's where an abstract piece gets into the realm of, the individual. And even when you see a dance that's so-called abstract, it's different maybe in painting. There's the human body that's the instrument. So therefore, people identify in their own way, even though, they start to think, oh, that person reminds me of myself, or that one looks, and then they start to, the mind, just like when you go to a film, people identify, even if it's not the same exact story, in their lives. A successful film often will have a great effect on people because they get pulled into it. So that's the whole thing about performance. Performance is not just that, okay, we put this in a little shadow box and then we hope they'll like it. We have to start from the inception to reach out and know, I choreograph their eyes. Some people are looking down and some people are looking here, and then I have eyes here, and so it's all part of the choreography too, where the faces are looking, and the projection is an old-fashioned concept, but I really like it. And projection in dance means that just like with a singer or an opera singer or, anybody that's using their voice, they have to lift and send out energy. That's what the whole thing is about. And I told them, I said, they're so well trained and they're doing all these classes and lifting their legs. And I said, now we have to put in a little bit of the oomph factor. They don't teach you that in class because they don't call it that, but it needs the oomph factor because they're all in great training, and but then something gets lost when someone is constantly just thinking about their technique. You have to also merge that with the inner soul and the inner spirit of why you're doing what you're doing. Mm-hmm. So that's an interesting dichotomy that happens. I'm sure it happens with music students, but you hear wonderful performers at the piano, even child prodigies, and they have that flame. And that's another thing I really believe in, that you have to have the flame within. I mean, someone can be very well trained and technical, but there's something missing, and you don't know what it is. But it's that inner drive that comes out through the movement. And I really believe in cultivating that, I think it's important.
Hey, let me ask you something. You are doing the productions for Ask?
No, I'm scheduling.
You're scheduling them. That's what I meant. I'm sorry, I didn't use the proper
I think what
vocabulary.
Linda's talking about is the passion in art, the inner flame.
So when you do the scheduling, how challenging is that for you to bring all of these different things together when you have to get it on a stage?
This month the Education Committee at the Art Society of Kingston and the Performing Arts Committee decided to create a theme, and it's called Transformative Learning. So we felt that what Linda is presenting with her dance company was within that theme of transformative learning. And we have workshops and classes that are available for the public to come in and, understand what that could be. A way of, just discovering themselves through the arts.
That's wonderful. So how does somebody find out about that?
All they have to do is go to the Art Society of Kingston website. That's askfor, arts.org. And you'll go to the events and you'll see the listing. So like tomorrow we're going to have Heart Moves. It's a new form of exercise by someone who was trained as an Olympic lightweight wrestler and also does yoga, and he's created a unique form called Hearts Move.
Is this a local person?
Yeah, he lives in Ulster County.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
And he teaches in Ulster County.
Yeah, yeah. And so then that's Paul Wilderman. And then after that we have Susan Togut, who will be presenting a mandala workshop. So after all the movement, we're going to settle down into a more meditative feeling and discovering something that's very balancing and centering and express it in the visual arts.
And people will be painting mandalas?
Yeah, painting. It's a mixed media workshop. So, yeah, so we like the idea of transformative learning right now. The Art Society is actually coming out of what I call the COVID blues. It was very, very difficult during the lockdown, and we had to cancel all the performing arts. The galleries were able to continue to remain open, but we couldn't have our typical receptions. We had to limit the people who were within the gallery. So it was very strict with masks and such, and so now that's been removed. And just last Saturday, we probably had 100 people in there for the opening of the 3 exhibits that are there.
That's exciting.
And it's open to the public from, Thursday through Sunday, noon to 5.
You know,
97 Broadway.
We
Kingston.
can all celebrate.
Yeah.
We can all celebrate, and that comes kind of competing with all the strife and trauma that is happening in the world today. And it is affecting people.
Yeah.
Have you
Deeply.
noticed that?
Yeah. It's deeply affected people. Yeah, it's really changed our social culture. And so it's so important for the arts to be able to bring people together in a very, uplifting, as Linda was saying, and, inspiring us to become more comfortable with ourselves again and other people. The pandemic was something that changed our social fabric.
Completely.
Yeah.
And
And we're still recovering from it.
I don't know. Based on this last week, I don't think that recovery is going to happen anytime soon, but we all move forward. And then when you start talking about all of the things that you do with movement, I see how therapeutic this is for our culture.
Yeah.
So that is my background as a healer. So when I see these things, and you don't have to say to me that it's therapeutic, I can just see it and feel it, and it's so exciting.
It is. Yeah. No, whenever I see dance, I feel it. And same thing if I'm listening to music, so dance is to music, and the visual arts. But when I go into an art exhibit, I'm so absorbed by the expression of the artist, and then when I leave, that is there. I'm seeing the world in a slightly different way of viewing things. And dance and music, all the arts have that. If we see a film that's very moving, it's so important because it brings us together in a cultural way, to experience our shared reality of being creative people.
This probably isn't even a good question, but when you go out and you seek talent, how do you integrate this need for this new, because we are new people. We're post-pandemic. It's a new, people aren't talking about it, but we are new. We may not be physically changed, our skin may still be the same color, whatever, but in our souls and hearts, we are different people.
Yeah.
And so, how do you grasp that if you are selecting and scheduling something? How do you communicate that? That's the word, communication. You communicate it on the stage, but then you have to talk about it and write about it ahead of time, like we're doing it now.
Yeah. I think it's just really important for people to meet and be able to speak about the experience they had, and then how to process that experience.
I think there are people who still are not talking.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was so shocking and devastating. It was a form of trauma, you know, and that takes time to move through trauma.
They have to process it, and they have to be comfortable that maybe it's not going to come back. And I think this is kind of soon for that.
Yeah. People are still concerned, and
there's still fear.
And there's also the world at large.
Yes.
Events that are definitely shocking everybody, and we don't want to get into all that, but that has been a real shakedown.
I think, Linda, it's all combined. You know, it's finally when we get beyond something, there's certain things just gone a little bit crazy, you know? And I feel like it is up to us, meaning you and the dancers and the artists and the musicians and all of the people who work with the arts, who don't even see themselves as being therapeutic, but it is up to that faction of our society to promote the healing. Is that wrong, right?
I think it's a very good outlook, definitely.
You know?
Yeah. Well, promoting the arts is promoting the healing.
Oh no, that's what I'm saying. It's up to the arts. It's up to the promotion of the arts to get people to heal. You have to convince people that it's okay to heal.
Yeah.
And you know, we had masks, and then all of a sudden we didn't have masks, and now we have people who are still afraid.
Yeah.
So fear is something that we're going to be working with on the arts for, 10 years, 20 years, 100 years?
Well, I mean, it's all part of, I call it a dualistic bubble. Wherever there's light, there's darkness, there's shadow, and to accept that this is life, you know, and then we move forward. And so the arts help us process and express what it is that we've experienced. And when we're doing that, then we grow and develop, and we can be there for ourselves. And when we can be there for ourselves with, you know, compassion and empathy, then we can be there for others, and that's the healing process. So I think the artists, you know, at large, that's what they're attempting to do. Yeah.
Well, somehow I think, and I don't know whether I'm just reading things into what you're doing, but when you put on a program, and you schedule a program such as Linda's, that has music that is very, very cross-cultural, that goes beyond time, and it goes beyond now, when you do something like that, it has a profound quality about it.
It does, yeah.
That a lot of
Definitely.
people, on some level, may miss. But I think on another level, they're going to get it.
Good.
I really,
hope so.
I do.
Yeah.
I don't think you can have that many different kinds of dancers and music and videos. I don't think you can have a program like that without, on some level, confronting a person's soul.
That's an interesting outlook. I like that.
Well, the reason I feel that is because you were just standing there talking about it, and I just began to listen to what you were saying.
Maybe it's more touching the soul rather than confronting. Yeah.
That's true.
You like the
Right.
touching better?
Touching, yeah.
Okay.
Embracing the soul.
Oh, that's even better.
Yeah.
But there are some people who are not ready. But I think maybe they can still be,
Moved in some
they can still be,
Yes.
you know.
Well, that experience that Linda shared with us of that man who was suffering and how being there, experiencing your dance company and the diversity and all that you were bringing forth, he felt better.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for that moment in time.
Yeah.
I wanted
He
to
was
say,
uplifted. He was no longer suffering. He was able to move out of his suffering. That's really significant.
Yeah, that's big.
December 17th is when our dance company, Linda Diamond and Company, will be at ASK Gallery, 97 Broadway, in case you're just tuning in a little late. And our wonderful program coordinator is Pamela Timmons, and she wanted our group to speak to the audience. And I think it's a very good idea because it's a way to get a little bit of feedback and also for the audience to get to inquire a little more about, the dancer herself, or, what they did when they did this, and also the performers and the artists get a chance to see how it affected people. So I think it's a very valid thing to do, and we're also going to have a reception downstairs and perhaps also upstairs for people who are disabled. I was thinking, I don't know if it's
No, in the gallery.
Oh, in the gallery,
You can have a
right.
little reception,
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So if people come early or if they want to go there after, and there will be no intermission, so it's a matinee at 2 o'clock, Sunday, December 17th. I know it's just before all the holiday season, but it might be fun to bring children because the program is definitely suitable for ages 6 to adults, and there's something for everyone. So it's really a kind of diverse program that's not, I used to take my daughter when she was little to all these different things, Carnegie Recital Hall and this, and then finally I realized, there are also children's programs, but I thought it was good to bring a child to see art and look at different things, and the more you bring your child or children to events that are not necessarily billed as for children, you'll be surprised because I feel that children really have a very sophisticated outlook that sometimes surprises adults, but I never underestimate them. And they come up with comments and observations that are just wonderful. So I do believe that a program like this will be very interesting because it won't be the typical holiday program. However, it will be food for thought, if nothing else. So,
Well, I think that's all. That's all very
Celebration
important.
of the arts, so that's holiday, right?
yes,
Celebrating.
that's true, right.
Okay.
It's festive, right.
Yeah.
And I like the idea of, because there's Kwanzaa, there's Christmas, there's Hanukkah. I like the term when they talk about the Festival of Lights, which is really the concept of bringing light and love and to bring people back to their humanity. So hopefully we can have that as an undercurrent of what we're doing at this time. I really feel it's
Beautiful.
important.
Yeah.
Well, this is a very, very, very important a time, and not only is it holiday, but it's everything else, and it's all the healing, and it's all the damaged people, and it's all of us who are looking forward, and so we're very fortunate to have you guys. So
agree.
that's wonderful.
Yeah. Well, we just want the community to turn out and enjoy. So please go on to askforarts.org.
And what is
And
the
you'll see-
address?
It's 97 Broadway in Kingston. And you'll see the events listed. And please come out. It's going to be a wonderful Sunday matinee, 2 to 5. And as what Linda was saying, The program is diverse enough that I think that most students would be very interested and, will be captivated by the costumes, the dance, the music, yeah, the video clips. Yeah, it's going to be quite beautiful. Yeah, I hope you'll be able to come.
Oh, I am scheduling it in mentally
wonderful.
In times past I would not have been able to, but I am now. I work with the flea market, which is Saturdays and Sundays, but it's not going right now. So that frees up time to do fun things like this.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Well, the depth of Linda's program and your choreography is tremendous. And we're so fortunate to have Linda's Dance Company here.
How many people are you going to have?
Well, this time we don't have the male dancer, but we have 4 female dancers. So, and I'm stepping out so I can make sure all the details are going on. And
You'll be kind of the narrator of the program.
Yeah, well, I will be giving a little insight into each piece.
Yeah.
But I wanted to say something about children. Years ago, I did have the video of the Calder piece, and then, the teachers thought, oh, this is going to be too sophisticated. And it was a special ed group. I was just visiting, I think, that time. And so then I said, are there any questions? And one little boy said, yes, can we see it again? And that was like the highest compliment. I still remember that. Can we see it again?
Encore.
That's why I'm just saying that, and then it was very abstract movement and everything, and the teachers were surprised, They're always, well, I don't want to generalize, but when I've taught children, creative movement or modern dance or whatever, I always give them challenges, I guess, where I always assume that they can take on things that are maybe more higher than their age level, because sometimes, it's not according to the book. When they're 6, they can only do this. When they're 7, I don't pay attention to them. I just throw things at them, and it's always interesting to see how they can rise to whatever you're giving them. And they have great imagination, and it's really enjoyable to be able to share that with children, because they come up, they're not worried about what the New York Times said about, in the review. So that's why I like children as an audience, when they're brought there voluntarily, of course, So we shall see, but, there are some parents who do like to bring them to music concerts and all types of things that are normally expected just for adults. And I think the more that children are brought into that, the wider their outlook is on many things, and then they have more of a flexible mind. It's like it's not just, it's only this and this, but so that's what the arts also provide, I think, for the opening up of thinking and acceptance and enjoying things that are not the preordained. So that's really another service.
It's not commercial.
Yeah.
It's very authentic art. It's not commercial art. Yeah, it's not the pop art of the day. Yeah.
And
so it's a great opportunity, really, to have this, and it's so affordable. It's, you come, it's suggested donation, but everyone's welcome. Great opportunity for students to come with their families.
Are all of your programs with Ask, are they donations? Is that what they are?
Well, with the NISCA grant, the New York State grant, we're able to offer these programs because that's actually paying the artists. So it's suggested donations, so then we can continue the programs. Yeah, because the Art Society has to be able to make money to continue programs. Yeah. So this is one of the ways.
I have to put in a commercial here. I absolutely adore New York State. We moved here 20 years ago, and I hear, see, touch things every day, which reminds me that we get to, as residents in New York State, we get to experience things that people in other parts of the country just don't. And this is one of them,
Culturally very rich.
Yes.
Well, the Art Society is available for artists that are not commercial, that are genuinely artists. And that's what Linda and her dancers are. They're genuine artists. So, and this is very special. Most people don't even realize what authentic art is until they come into the Art Society and they see it. Yeah.
Yes,
It's
only
very
in New York.
expressive. Yeah. Well, other places, but yeah, we are really a great model for it.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand that this area is really becoming very popular. It's a big draw for artists.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
know?
Ulster County, yeah.
Yes, it's big.
Mm-hmm.
So that, this is something that we should do and we should enjoy.
And also the healing arts.
Healing arts are very, very important also here.
Yeah.
And of course, well, other things too, but the arts, authentic arts are lovely here in this area. So it's great.
It really
I
is.
just wanted to say also to promote ASK, the Art Society of Kingston, that this is becoming more of a center to merge the various arts and present them. And we don't have many locations like that. I mean, there are different venues, of course, where someone can have a music thing or whatever. But I get the feeling that there's a desire to really bring in the public and show how all these different types of programs that Pamela will be involved with will help bring people in that, let's say somebody, for instance, might be coming because they know the composer and then suddenly they're exposed to modern dance, or someone will be coming because they know one visual artist who has something hanging there, and then they learn about the other aspects. So I like what they're moving towards. They're making it much more interactive now that the pandemic is over. And of course, it's been going on for a number of years. It has a great history of, you tell them a little about it, about the people who gave $5 each or something.
Oh, yeah.
Tell them about that. I love that.
It was back in the 90s that 5 of the visual artists of Kingston were talking, just like we're talking right now. And they said, well, let's each put $5 in and let's create the Art Society of Kingston.
Wow.
And that was, yeah.
That was it.
Real grassroots, yeah. And
What
very
a
authentic.
gorgeous story.
Yeah. And Catherine McKenna lives here in Woodstock. She's one of the founders, as well as Chris Gagne, who lives in Kingston. He's painted a wonderful mural that is on the building that faces the Art Society of Kingston.
I've seen that.
Yeah.
He had a gallery himself called the
That's
Coffee
right.
Gallery years ago.
On Front Street. Yeah, so
So,
it's a real story of what artists can do when they come together and collaborate and have a vision and want to bring in all the arts.
And you just have to keep the faith, baby.
Yeah.
You have to keep working and not get distracted.
Well, it does help, yeah. And we do need people to support the arts, because there is overhead, there's maintenance of the building, and to bring artists like Linda Diamond in and her dancers, we don't always get a NISCA grant to cover the expenses, so, yeah.
So you need people. Do you need people also to volunteer?
Oh, yeah, we're always looking for volunteers.
Are you
It's-
really?
Yeah, well, the members, it's all volunteers. Yeah.
You'll have to come sometime on the show and we'll talk about the volunteers.
Okay, yeah.
I'm big on volunteering.
Oh, good, good.
Well, when you volunteer, you do things that you wouldn't do. If you were paid, you would say, oh, I'm not going to do that. But if you're a volunteer, you just step right in.
Well, we encourage the volunteers to do what they really love doing, and that helps. We don't want to give them positions that they don't feel comfortable with. So the gallery sitters come, and they, sit there and greet the people that come in to visit and the members for the shows. That's a volunteer position that's always welcome.
Well, that's great fun. So Ask is an integral part of Kingston then, of the Hudson Valley.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's a not-for-profit. It's a 501c3, and basically it's a volunteer organization. And every month we have different exhibits in the art galleries. And during the month we have different performing arts that come in. So
Oh, that's
it's available,
wonderful.
yeah, and it's very affordable. The art galleries, there's no charge. You can come in and really see some beautiful work, innovative work. It's like an incubator for innovation and creation here in the Hudson River Valley.
And we're all lucky to have Linda Diamond with
We
the
are,
music.
yeah.
We are so lucky.
Music and dance, yeah,
Yes.
yeah. She inspires the dancers, the musicians, the composers,
Yes.
yeah. And so this is like a little festival of the arts that's culminating during this matinee.
That's
Yeah,
fabulous.
yeah, bringing in the visual artists.
So it's 2:00, and we make our
December
reservations.
17th, yeah.
December
Yeah.
17th. That's a week,
Uh-huh.
not this weekend, but next weekend.
Yeah,
And so we enjoy it.
yeah.
Can they call a certain number for reservations or
Well, really, the best is to just go onto the
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 website?
website. Yeah, ask for arts. Yeah, but really, just come. There's room. The seating capacity is 100. So it's like an off Broadway, on Broadway experience.
So that's, and 100 is big in this area? Is seating for 100, is that
Yeah.
big in this area?
Yeah, it's good. And there's not many like off Broadway.
Venues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So. It's
Well, you
great
know,
to
that is
experience
true. Having space, having the square footage
Mm-hmm.
to produce whatever it is, whether it be an art show or a play or music or whatever, those things are at a premium.
There are.
And so
Yeah.
you have this 501c3 that manages to produce things, and in
It's our mission.
yes. Oh, I think that's wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. Yeah, it's very special.
Can you tell us one more time? The reason I'm asking one more time, I had a lady stop me on the street. I have the shows, but then during the week people come up to me and they talk to me. And one lady came up to me last week and she said, I've just stood this as long as I can. You just don't have any commercials. You talk to these people and you don't take time out and you don't tell all the things that you have to tell. So I'm giving a little extra time in, especially since you guys are a nonprofit. So it's in Kingston, on Broadway, and it's at 2:00 on the 17th.
Yeah, 2 to 4 on the 17th.
2 to 4.
Sunday matinee.
It's a Sunday matinee,
Including
and,
reception.
97 Broadway.
we've got
Yeah.
we got Woodstock's Linda Diamond.
Yeah,
So that's fabulous.
yeah.
And do you have any upcoming events yet?
Well, this is upcoming, but
This
we
is.
also, the night before, we're going to have Jude Roberts and John B. Wood. They're two guitarists, Celtic folk music. So that will be happening on Saturday from 7 to 9. And again, that's a suggested donation at the door, but that's supporting these two artists.
That's wonderful.
Right? Yeah. And then we have the classes and workshops for transformative learning.
So people
And we have an
people
artist salon.
can take the classes. And by
Yeah.
people, I mean just the people.
Yeah, just register online at askforarts.org, and you can come in and experience a workshop and class with a professional artist. It's a great experience. We're also going to have an artist salon with our gallery assistant, Naoko Oshima, and she'll be bringing forth internal fitness. She not only is a very talented visual artist, spent many years at the Art Students League in New York City, but she's also a fitness trainer. So she's combining the two professions that she has. and internal fitness, and this is a new series that she's presenting.
That's wonderful.
So that's Friday from 5:30 to 7:30.
So it's
And
primarily a
the public's
weekend
welcome.
event, with things happen on the weekends?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. And you are here, you're going to be here on the 17th. Do you have any possible plans for
2024, yeah, but I usually don't like to talk about it, because I don't like to jinx it, but I'd like to do a video dance project that will encompass some concepts. Be careful to set my phone. You've heard of that happening in ballets in the olden days. So it crashed. But that's okay. We're here. I don't like to talk about it till I see that it's in motion, because I'm that kind of person, that likes to just, I don't like to tell people I'm doing.
Well, now, will you come on the show and keep
sure.
us all informed?
Oh, yeah. It'll have to do with, doing some fundraising in order to bring it to fruition, which is the constant plight of the artist, the ideas are always there, and the creative concepts and desire, but
What kind of fundraise? How do you fundraise?
Well,
How do you fundraise?
you apply for grants, and
Is that what it is? It's grant writing, grant request writing?
sort of, that's some of the way, unless you have a good board of directors that, we don't want to talk about that, but,
Well,
anyway.
we all get letters in the mail and cards in the mail,
Oh, yeah.
end of the year donations.
Oh, right, yeah,
And
that's
I'm
good.
sure you're receiving some end of the year
Yeah.
donations as
Yeah, well, we haven't.
Diamond and
reached out that way.
Company and the Art
Yeah.
Society also.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's up to the public to support the not-for-profits. Otherwise, we are
Yeah.
going to lose them.
Mhm.
And then all we have is commercial venues that the cost of these commercial venues are
Exorbitant.
very expensive.
And so that in turn takes it out on a high price for the audience members.
Yeah.
So it makes it prohibitive, and I'm very against that. I mean, I really feel that the arts should not only be for the elite, but it should be for everybody. So
Yeah.
I think somebody
Here we are. We're down to zero then.
That's it.
Well, ladies, it's
Thank you,
been
Ellen.
wonderful. And we are so grateful to Ellen.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Ellen. This has been so wonderful. I
Great
love this.
great
This is the first
conversation.
time Ellen just gave us a zero. Thank you very much, Ellen.
I like that.
Bye-bye.
Great conversation. Thank you so much.